Good evening, everyone. This is the ad hoc Academy Community Center Building Committee. Today's Tuesday, November 12th, and we're calling the meeting to order. I would like to start by approving the prior minutes, second item on the agenda, for October 22nd and October 28th. Take them individually. October 22nd. Any, can I get a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote, and all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Bill? Any opposed? Accepted, minutes are accepted on October 22nd as submitted. For October 28th, I'd like Dave to take over here, since I will be abstaining, since I was not at the October 28th meeting.
Okay. So me then?
Yeah, you're Dave.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting held on, what was the date?
October 28th.
October 28th, 2024?
So I'll move. Oh, I'll
You can have a
second.
All right, Joe, thank you. Any discussion, comment, corrections?
I do have one discussion item
Go
for
ahead.
this meeting. I didn't record the action items that Brian had taken, but Gina, I didn't see them reflected in here either. Can we get those added? Because there were some things I remember, Joan was talking about making sure there was conduit for supporting the theater needs, and there were some other action items on there. I want to make sure those got captured.
Yeah, so some language about the alternates, just further clarifying them, I believe. And I think I have to go through my notes, but I don't really recall anything else other than all the theater IT stuff and alternates.
I know they're probably in the recording, so.
They are in the recording. Brian, do you have a memo or anything that you can set, like your notes that you can send to me, and I'll just include them?
Well, I had a follow-up meeting with Tony Foreman and the electrical engineer, and we just hashed out any outstanding items. So that was fully resolved.
But would it be possible to get a list of those items so that we can amend the minutes?
Sure. I'm not in my office now, but I'll look into that.
Okay, anything else? All right, so add your comment in. All in favor?
Aye.
That's aye.
You're abstaining.
Abstaining.
All right, Ruth, back to you, boss.
Thank you. Next item on the list are the chair's comments, and for those of you who are joining, and for those here, I'd like to introduce the new member of our committee. That is Peter Horton, who is over here. I think you have to maybe wave your hand or something to for the camera to go to you. Peter has been confirmed and sworn in by the Board of Selectmen just this afternoon. And Peter replaces the seat that was vacated by Joe Paradiso. The committee is now at our full membership of 7, and we will proceed to do business with Peter joining as a voting member as of now. Well, as of this morning, earlier. That's all I have for share for.
Do you want to do
Sure.
a round of introductions
That's
for
what I
Peter?
Pardon?
I thought
Do you want us to introduce ourselves to Peter?
Oh, that'd be a good thing.
might be helpful.
Sure. Well, go ahead, Dave, because I've talked to Peter a couple of times today.
I'm Dave Spearley, I'm the vice chair of the committee. I'm a civil engineer by trade and do project management on construction projects.
So AJ Miller, I'm a regular member of the committee like the rest of you. I am also in the design subcommittee. And while I'm actually in computers and technology now, I do have a background in construction. So for about a decade, I was in construction, carpentry, and sorts of different trades.
Joan, you would be next.
I'm Joan Walker. I'm a member of the committee, prior member of Board of Selectmen, and and was liaison to Youth and Family Services, was on Youth and Family Services prior to becoming a Board of Selectmen member, and was on Economic Development Commission as well. And I am currently a public member of CIP, which is the Capital Improvement Program, which we reference every now and then.
Peter, not committee, but a key person on this project.
Yes, welcome aboard. I'm the Director of Facilities for the town of Madison and Madison Public Schools.
I'm Ann Kelly. I am a member of the committee and a member of the finance subcommittee. I handle the finance and administration for Connecticut College, facilities management, campus planning, and construction.
Well, about me, I'm Peter Wharton. I'm an architect by training, and I'm project manager for a fairly large architecture firm in New Haven. Did a lot of work at colleges and universities, Fairfield, Yale, that kind of stuff, and a lot of construction administration as part of it.
Thank you, Peter. John?
John Copeless, Senior Project Manager for Collier's Project Leaders, and overseeing the project for the town.
And if you go back to Bill, it's not a committee member, but he's Bill was hosted the original committee that laid out the uses of the proposed use of the building, and his is the foundation upon much of what we're doing now is based. So, Bill, you want?
Sure. Bill Stables, I have chaired two previous academy committees back in 2019 to 21 was the Academy Design Committee, where with the current architect and Colliers, we came up with the concept for the plan and decided that and realized that the Academy School building could in fact be usable for a community center. And then in 2022, I chaired the Academy Advisory Committee, and as Joe said, we systematically polled the public with a community survey and found out what the public, we had over 2,000 responses, and discovered what the public's preferences were for both types of activities in the building and the types of facilities that they wanted to have in there. And that report is available. I can get you a copy of that, Peter, and bring it to the next meeting.
And Peter, I don't think I gave you my background. I started my career. I've been 50 years in the in corporate life, but I started my career as a project manager in building chemical plants, and so I ended my career as both a project manager and a owner's rep for building power plants for across for United Illuminating, and then for ISO New England, monitoring the construction of power plants.
Brian.
Oh, Brian.
Oops. Sorry. Brian Park with QA&M. I'm the project architect for this project.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. That is it for the any other questions for the chair?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes,
I
sorry.
assumed,
Yes.
I didn't, but I didn't want to,
Yes.
I didn't want to really assume.
Yes.
Yes.
Didn't mean to skip you, Al, but I thought you were. You there, Al? Okay. Actually, Al is next with the liaison reports. And certainly the Board of Selectmen meeting this afternoon would be, that confirmed, Peter, would be certainly appreciated, was certainly appreciated.
Indeed. Welcome aboard, Peter.
Thank you.
I don't think I have any specific report, Joe. The Board of Selectmen is eagerly awaiting the next major step in the project, and we understand about a month from now that this committee will probably be able to provide the selectmen and the community with a lot more insight about the actual construction costs for the building.
We certainly will. We're on the path. Any other, are there any other Peter? You're not the official liaison, but you're important. Do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
I'd like to say we had I think I'm sure John's going to lead to this. We had a wonderful showing at the bid preview of the Academy. It was a really good turnout. So I'm not going to spoil John's surprise.
Thank you, Peter. Not a surprise anymore, but that's okay.
I think we got an email.
I know, I already sent an email anyway, sorry about that.
Thank you, Peter. The next item are subcommittee reports. I asked when we do the agenda that every subcommittee is mentioned, and if you have no report, that's fine. But if you'd like to add, if you have anything to add since our last meeting, please do so. And the first is theater, and I think Joan, that puts you front and center. You're muted.
You're
Joan.
muted, Joan.
Sorry. No report at this time. I think we're just waiting to see what the ad alternates come in at and what kind of scope we're looking at there.
Thank you, Joan.
Mhm.
Environmental, I don't.
Our subcommittee is only one now since Joe has left. I have no report from myself or the item, but
If you need anyone, you're free to draft anyone who's willing, and
I mean, I think now that
we'll open up the draft.
that we're out to bid, we'll have to, investigate if we really need that subcommittee anymore, but we can look into that.
Schematic? Was that schematic design? Is
I
that?
think the C and the D go together.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say the same.
I think that's what I think too.
No report from the design subcommittee.
Okay. One note that I had for the design subcommittee, and maybe I could punt this to you, John, if you want to do it later. If there's a reason for either a subcommittee or committee to meet between the 18th and the 22nd, the 18th is presumed that's the day that the last requests for information are due or advised. And the 22nd is when the required responses are. I don't know if the committee, I believe the committee might have some input to that, and I was wondering if you want to take that or we should talk about it here.
We can discuss that now if you'd like. Just double checking. Yes, the questions are due on the 18th or by the 18th. And then the response, the final addendum would be issued by Friday, November 22nd. I don't know if there's anything internally between, within the committee that would need to be addressed at that point. I think, or I'd like to think that everything was addressed or covered during the page turn meeting that we had in reference to the October 28th meeting minutes. And then as mentioned earlier, Brian will send his notes to Jeannie for incorporation into that. But yeah,
Presumably there would be more information requested and maybe some decisions that have to be made based on the input, based on the RFIs.
Potentially. Typically, to be honest, the RFIs that come in are more concentrated, fixated on the drawing package. There's seldom anything that would come in into question as far as a potential scope change or anything that would require, input from the building committee, but, we'll be monitoring those and, depending on how those questions come in, that may warrant the need for another meeting. I know we had talked about, I think, potentially having a meeting on the 19th in one of the prior building committee meetings.
Right. And that's not on your current agenda. That's why I was.
Not currently, correct. It was on the milestone schedule, but it was just noted as if necessary, so.
Now, if it's a design, it's a schematic design committee meeting, which is a subcommittee. I don't believe we have to schedule that. I believe we can set a date and make it a subcommittee meeting, and if the whole committee had to be there, we can make it what's the right word? Special meeting. But let's, can we set a date for that? And I guess, Dave, are you on? No, you're on.
So what's the objective of the meeting? I just want to get clarification. What would be the objective of this meeting?
It would be to review the any of the requests that have been put in any RFIs to determine if there were anything that needed the committee or subcommittee review.
So any questions that came back or something like that?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Can we set a date early enough in that process when you get the you can get the information collated, but before, and but still enough time that if we do need to have a special meeting, we still have time for that.
Yeah, I would say the 19th would be the ideal time
Okay,
to do that.
it's not a Sunday, is it?
That's
a Tuesday.
That would be.
That would have to be late. I won't get back into town until 8 o'clock at night, so I could do an 8 o'clock meeting.
We're talking November 19th?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm booked until 7.
So
Um,
and I don't know what Felicia's schedule obviously is.
Okay,
So
Oh.
John,
So we can probably do that. I mean, if it's just a subcommittee meeting, we can just do that ad hoc, and we don't need to make it formal.
right, that's what, it would be an ad hoc.
Why don't we start with over email, and then if we need to escalate, we escalate
Okay,
to an in-person meeting. We'll
can we include Peter on that subcommittee? Awesome.
As long as all 4 of us don't show up, yes.
Right,
that means you're out, Joe.
pardon?
That means you're out.
That's okay.
Well, it's me, Felicia,
I'm
and
perfectly good with that.
Joan is an alternate, so.
Well, I'm saying, but if Peter is in.
So if all 3 of us show up plus Peter, then we're
Yeah.
at 4. And
That's, yeah, it's a-
so.
No, Peter doesn't count towards a quorum. So as long as it's only 3 members of the committee. you're not-
wrong, Peter.
Yeah, Peter.
Oh,
Horton.
wrong Peter, the other Peter, sorry. Oh, gosh, now we got 2 Peters. Oh, God.
all messed up.
it's all right.
Yeah,
that works. So I just got a really quick question. So is there a link to the bidder questions that you could share to the committee members so we can look at them? Because they're public, right?
They will be public. The questions come to myself, and then I send those to QAM to answer if it's something that is an architectural question. And then those are presented as an addendum.
No,
So,
but as they're coming in, is there like a site or something we can get a link to be able to see them?
no,
Or
it's
something
we
internal.
typically don't have that.
Um,
Because they're collected and then issued as the addendum, because a lot of times the questions are, duplicated.
Yeah, no,
So-
understood.
Okay,
Understood.
so,
No, because I was only asking because if you had a link or something, I mean, we could look at them independently and I could share if I had any questions over to AJ and he could discuss them in the board,
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think,
I
there's
don't-
probably no risk in you, when you collated the list together
I mean, I
to send a copy out to
can
the
provide
committee.
like a OneDrive link and load them into that and.
But
do it
if
that
one
way.
comes in and you put it into your system, don't the other bidders be able to see the question or they don't?
They don't see it until the addendum comes out.
Oh, so they don't know.
Typically, the questions would come in, they're collated, they're answered, and then returned to all. So you might get a question from contractor A that's different from a question from contractor B,
okay,
but they're all
gotcha.
put in the same log and then checked
Gotcha.
out.
And you don't, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
you don't know who the question's from? I mean, you don't say, you know, this contractor asked this question. It's just question, you know, when is, you know, on page A 1.0, this detail says this. Can you please clarify if that dimension is correct? Response from, in this case, QAM, the dimension is 5 inches, not 4 inches. Or, you know.
No, I understand how that
Okay.
process. Okay, gotcha. No, because you know, like the DOT has like a website and they all go, you when you go in, you put your question, you can see who put the question in.
Oh.
So you don't have duplicates. You can say, oh, and then when they're answered as they go along, anybody can see the answer.
Yeah,
So that's not like how it works. Okay.
No, not the typical.
Okay.
Is there a date that, other than the 19th, that you might be available earlier?
The 20th.
20?
Like I said, I feel like the need for a meeting is probably fairly low right now, and we can probably schedule that as we. If we get the questions back and it seems like there's something you need us to weigh in on.
Right, and the other thing, if a question comes in tomorrow, and it is one that could potentially require your feedback or input, I can send that to you, you know, tomorrow afternoon, not waiting until the 18th.
Right,
I mean, there's no need to wait until the last day of the questions coming in to potentially share anything, you know, with the subcommittee. So it's not something that, you know, you'd be inundated by 15 questions on the 18th, and then we've got to review all those that evening. It could be something where, yeah, as they come in, if it's something that would warrant feedback from the subcommittee, then I can send those to you and Felicia and Joan, and then you know, those can be addressed sooner than later. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But you don't care about the clarification, question, dimensions or color.
Anything that's sort of standard operating procedure, I don't think we need to get involved with. It's the stuff where, you know, I guess, in my opinion, we use John's judgment to decide if it's something that they just normally answer clerically or if it's something that they need to.
Yeah, that's, I mean, clerical issue, sure.
I don't think there's gonna be anything that we're gonna have to make a decision on.
I wouldn't anticipate
I was
that.
just more
Typically,
interested for my own, just kind of what the questions are, you know?
Can you send the questions to everyone or just,
Well, the
or only
addendum
a
will come
subcommittee?
out and we'll be able to see the addendum. It's published, that have all the questions and the answers that they provided. So we can all get that, that's public.
But you're losing you.
That's public information, that addendum will be public information, we will get a copy of that. So if it's our curiosity, we can just review that, right?
Yeah, that'll be on the town website and the DAS portal. The addendum gets issued.
But that doesn't allow us to see them before. I mean,
No,
What's before the bids are due?
it's still
Yes.
before the bids are due.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I'm not concerned.
Okay. So it goes to questions as they come, to questions as they come in. The questions go to Joan, Dave, and AJ.
No, not me.
no,
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 Felicia.
Felicia.
oh, I'm sorry.
AJ, Felicia.
AJ, Felicia, and
Joan.
Joan.
If they require feedback from the sub.
He's not gonna send them to us.
I'm not gonna
They're
send
just
it to him.
clerical.
If they're, you're right, okay. And then when the addendum is published, then it's public information, it goes to everybody.
Yeah,
And there'll be multiple addendums. We already have one being lined up probably for issuance tomorrow. And we do not have any specific questions and answers on that one yet. But, you know, one question that came in is there gonna be a second pre-bid meeting? A contractor that didn't show up last Friday. I responded to that and said, no, that was the pre-bid meeting. was
That's
last
pretty
Friday.
critical, yeah.
And I'm not putting that on the, you know,
the
you know,
law.
the addendum law. I mean, that was pretty straightforward. But I've received a couple of questions from companies looking to get a list of the bid sign-in sheet, because they want to submit,
So important.
product information to contractors and things like that. But that's not something that would go on the addendum. There's things that are directly related to the project, and a couple of those questions have come in, which have gone to QAM, looking for clarification regarding the septic system. I think there was a question on the electrical. Those are going to be, asked and then answered by QAM or their consultants, and then that will be incorporated into, an addendum, and then that'll be, published on the town website, on the DAS portal. But those type of questions I would not be, forwarding to the subcommittee, because that's not something that is that's just a clarification within the drawings, not something that's requiring feedback or design consideration from the subcommittee.
Okay. One of the things I was trying to do was to bring Peter up to date on some of the drawings and the story behind the reasons behind them. And I thought this might be an opportunity, but it sounds like this isn't the time to do that. To do it with
It's gonna be a little bit midstream, which is gonna be difficult to build
it's gonna
the
be
context.
it's gonna be difficult enough. Okay. Okay, Peter, we'll talk about that, how to accomplish that. And Brian, we may, you can still hear us. We may try to get a hold of you to see if we can't get a time for Peter to get up to date on where the current state of the drawings and what, how it got there. If that would be okay.
Yeah, we
There
can,
is the bid package, which is, we can be seen. Okay. Thank you. Okay. The finance subcommittee.
We defer to item 6.
Okay, got it. Item 6, review and approve invoice packet of applicable.
Okay, you should all have received the revised packet this afternoon consisting of 3 invoices.
We did.
We did.
I would like to move to approve.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Fuss and O'Neill was something that this is a comment, the Fuss and O'Neill invoice was something that we thought might be covered by the grant, but we've been informed that the grant that covers other things for the grant that we thought was going to cover this will not. So this is now part of our budget for the school.
There are 2 components that this budget is responsible for. The selective demo, which was change order number 3, and the environmental consulting, which is change order number 4. So the other items that are referenced in this invoice are not part of the building budget. So as was spelled out, the items that we are responsible for total $113,421 plus $193.50 for expenses.
Did I get a motion? No, I don't think so.
No.
Motion to accept as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
And any other discussion? All in favor of approving as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Jeannie, I'll be signing, I have the paper here, I'll sign it and give it to you at the end of the meeting.
Okay, the next item is for the estimation services. Again, move to approve.
I'll second.
So I'll start off with, I've got a question for John Copeless. Could you confirm, please, what our contracts, what the contract amounts are for both estimation services?
For the, outside estimator for keys,
Yeah.
the.
Is the total of the one from February and the one from this month, $9,400?
$400.
That's for both.
That is correct. Yes.
So if we pay this invoice, we will be fully paid.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, yeah, this is the final invoice from Keys. They provided the DD estimate and the CD estimate. And that was their scope of work for services, for estimating services.
Okay,
All in favor? So we got, did you make a motion?
I did,
We did?
and it's been
Can we
seconded.
get a second? All in favor of accepting the keys invoice? Say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion approved. Keys is approved.
Okay, the third invoice is from Colliers, and I'd like to move to approve this one as well.
second.
Discussion?
This invoice represents just shy of 50% completion of the bidding phase.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. $9,678, which is the amount that we had originally been paying as a monthly installment, by the way.
Possibly. It's been so long since we had an invoice, I don't remember.
It is.
So we're back to our monthlies again. Okay. What appears.
Oh, is that-
at least
No, that's not really true.
No, that's not.
They just happen to hit the same, I
it
think.
just happened to
I
be
think
the
it's just
same.
ironically the same number then. That is the amount.
You have a question?
Yeah,
JJ?
how did you get to 48.39% complete
For the
Bidding phase.
bidding phase?
the bidding phase,
Perhaps
The
it wasn't-
level of precision I'm not used
I-
to.
perhaps it wasn't
that's
as
the
random
other,
as we thought.
yeah, that's another department. that does
Maybe
it.
not.
In terms of the alignment,
I don't know, it's
it fits the number.
the $20,000 figure divided by the 9670 or the 9678.
It's how you get to 9678.
That's what they wanted to bill us?
Yeah, they didn't want any pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just pass them along. I don't know how they come up with that, to be honest, as far as the.
I mean, we're roughly
So-
50% through the
so-
bidding, right? We've got just
exactly,
bidding,
you
we're
know.
gonna get it back.
So, as sort of a gut check on that, independently of this number, where are we in the bidding phase?
Yeah. We're about halfway through, it feels
Yeah.
like to me.
Mhm.
Feels appropriate.
Any other discussion? In favor? Aye. Aye.
I,
Approved? That? I'll get my signature on it.
and there are no line item transfers.
So we're deferring making budget line item transfers until we get a sense of what the construction contract's gonna be. We're gonna do one massive budget change.
Okay,
Okay, can I just ask, with respect to the Fuss and O'Neill payment? I didn't know how much you had in your line item for the hazardous material costs. Do you know what that number is?
Well, we've got change order 3 for $119,162.50 and change
Mhm.
order 4
For 13?
for $13,300.
Okay, so is that, automatically being placed into that? ACCVA 3A line item under your tracking?
I can't speak to that. That's a town finance.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure it aligns with what we're tracking at our end, that's all.
Is that where you're tracking it, John?
Well, that's where I'm tracking it, but I have transferred funds from the contingency line to address those additional costs, because as of now, or up to this point, we had about $75,000 allocated for the hazmat consultant. So in order to cover the bills associated with addendum 3 and addendum 4, I was looking to transfer that money in from the contingency line. I just wanted to see if, if that is how the town was doing it too.
And we're getting close to a spot as we move towards making an actual budget change to needing to coordinate with the town finance group, which we will be doing.
I guess what you're asking, John, is it necessary to do a line item transfer now? Or can we do that in one fell swoop?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's another way to word it. I didn't know how the town was approaching that, that's all.
Joan, Ann, do you have any? Is that? Can
We
you
don't
answer
have
that?
any insight into that at this point, because that just came out. I think we were under the impression this was going to be covered under the brownstone, so until we have a discussion. And I think until numbers come in, they're probably not sure where they're going to take it from. Do you know what I mean? It could be, if something else is under, they may take it from that instead. Rather than the contingency.
So where does that leave us?
No line item transfers at this time.
Any other discussion on the billing?
No.
Okay. Collier's update. John, I had there seems to be there have been a number of meetings, land use meeting on the 4th, P&Z commission meeting on the 7th, site meeting with the site meeting with the GC. I think we might discuss some of that. You might it was deferred to you to discuss now. And then, of course, the meeting today, but if Tom's not here, I guess we're not going to get a report on that.
Right. I mean, to that point, Tom is, I believe, still across the way at the ACA meeting, making that presentation. Brian, I don't know if you have any input on that and or the Historic District Commission meeting that's coming up. If you want to, actually, I'll let you speak to that under your report. Back to the Collier's report, we did have the pre-bid meeting last Friday. We had a total of 23 general contractors show up. I think I distributed the list to the building committee either Friday or Monday. And of those 23, there is one that has backed out as of, I think this morning it was. So we were down to 22, but that's still a pretty impressive number. So majority of them are within the Connecticut region. In this area in particular, there was one company out of New Jersey, and there was one company out of Massachusetts, I believe, was the other state that was represented. But again, good representation. We did have a couple of subcontractors there. There were a couple of roofers that were there, and there were a couple of hazmat companies that also showed up. We spent about an hour. Peter opened up the building for us, and they spent about an hour walking around, taking photos, documenting various components. One thing that was asked by two of the bidders at the pre-bid meeting, and then I received an email since, is they're looking or requesting an extension of the bid due date. It is presently December 3rd. They are looking for an extension. Talking with QAM, we feel 1 week would likely be more than enough. One of the contractors during the pre-bid made a comment that they had 3 other bids due that same date, December 3rd. Assuming that's accurate, he's not, trying to sway the request, but by extending it a week, we feel that, we would have a better chance to get some stronger numbers, give them more time to assess, the scope. Also with Thanksgiving in there, that does make it a little bit of a challenge to get some of that pricing back from the subcontractors. So that is a question being proposed this evening to see if the building committee has any objection to that. Al, if you want to weigh in for any reason on that request as well, but Colliers and QAM are not opposed to extending it another week in order to ensure that we can get some solid bids from the contractor. So, stop. Do you want to discuss that?
We can discuss that. We don't need a motion, I don't think, just to discuss that item.
If you want to vote on something.
A couple questions. So back to those bidder questions again. So you culminate them all, and on the 22nd, you send them out.
Well, in this case.
Well, that's be in on, right? It'll be in on the 18th, and you send them out on the 22nd.
The 22nd would be the final addendum. There will be an addendum probably going out tomorrow. And then there will likely be another addendum based on how many questions come in, where we'll, send that out before
Ahead
the
of time?
22nd. Oh, that's what you're asking. We won't wait until the 22nd and collect all the questions at one time to send back answers at one time.
Okay.
It's more beneficial to do it in stages.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when you send it out initially, there's a question in there that somebody else was going to ask.
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking if it was live and people could see the answers going in and out, so they would know. Because my only concern is that if we're collecting questions up through the 22nd and then you're going to respond, that could affect the bidding depending on what the answer is to the question, right? It has to go to a subcontractor depending on what it is. So I
Depending on the question. Right.
I don't know. I mean, is it prudent to agree to move it up a week now, not knowing how many questions we're going to have, that we may have to move it again?
Are you saying moving the
I'm just saying,
the
if we
bid
extend.
response, the addendum?
No. If we extend the bid by 1 week today,
Okay.
right, and for some reason you get 200 questions and they need another week after that, because we're not gonna answer them all until X date. I guess my question is, do we either make the decision today or can we make it 2 weeks from now? And we kind of know how we're trending with the questions.
I think the sooner we let them know about the request to extend the date, the better. Because.
Well, they'll prioritize what they're bidding then, right?
Well, they're prioritized, and if some of them are looking at it and thinking, well, that's not enough time for us to put the bid together, so we are not interested, then they may,
Oh, we certainly don't want to deter bidders either, right?
Right.
Not for a week.
Right. But again, I don't want to move it a week and then we find out we need another week.
It's the worst that happens. Yes, right.
I don't think,
You don't think
I don't foresee extending it twice, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. That's what I am asking.
Oh, okay. No, I think we would extend it 1 week and say, this is the revised due date. And hopefully they don't submit another question asking for another extension, because they're not gonna get another extension.
Okay.
John? Were you anticipating keeping the same RFI due date and just extending the bid deadline? That's kind of approach it.
That's something we could look at. I'm just trying to make sure we avoid the whole Thanksgiving timeframe. So that's what I'm trying to
Okay, great.
So I would say, I think Thanksgiving is like the 28th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so if we could potentially say that the, RFI deadline is, push it out 2 days, so it's the 20th. And then the, final addendum is issued on the 26th or so, like, a day or two before Thanksgiving. So, that does provide a little bit more time for the questioning. And then is reducing the window between the final addendum and then the due date, if you will, by a couple days. But again, it's trying to work around that Thanksgiving holiday that, becomes a little bit of a trick or challenge.
Can you help us understand what the process looks like once all the bids have been received and what that timeline looks like before our committee would consume that information?
The bids are due whenever they're due, and
December 3rd.
December 3rd or December 10th. Yes, I mean.
Well, do we
depending
want to
which
decide
day.
on that first?
Well, I wanna, that's why I was asking, I wanna hear like how much, do you need reconciliations and is there vetting and like, there are a bunch of steps that.
Yeah, there's no reconciliations.
Okay,
It's a general contractor bid, so the bids will come in. And they're actually coming to Peter's attention. I'll come over and, we'll open those up on the 3rd or the 10th, whatever the date is. And those will be read. And then I'll collect all the bids and then I'll go back and start putting together a spreadsheet that will list each of the contractors, their base scope, the 10 alternate or 11 alternates. There's unit pricing that, will be factored in, but I should say that will be documented, but not necessarily, factored in. And then, just confirmation that they have all the proper documentation associated with their bid. And that they don't have any glaring exceptions to the bids. They have that section where they can list, any exceptions to the bid and, they may or may not list certain things that could preclude them from being considered, as a selected contractor. But it's essentially, a spreadsheet that will document each and every one of the bids that come in. And then that would be, shared with the building committee.
how do you reconcile experience and types of projects the companies work on and sort of some of that, I guess, additional information into that spreadsheet?
It's from experience, QAM's experience with the contractors, Collier's experience, Peters, if he has any, background with any of the contractors, just knowledge of, what they have done and what their work product has been, whether or not the company has proven they can, do that type of a project. The ones that showed up, to be honest, I think there's a couple here that this is probably too small of a project for them. And they may, reconsider, bidding it, but, there's a couple I'm sure that, this may be a little bit too much for them. So, back out because of that, but, you'll typically end up, you'll get those, numbers come in and you'll see that range where the number should be. You'll get, if you've got 10 bidders, you'll see 6 of them that are within, $1 or $2 million of each other. You'll see 1 or 2 that are $5-6 million up and a couple that are $4 or $5 million below. So you're sort of like, okay, it's something, they missed something or they're not, reading or interpreting the drawings properly. So you may look at considering or not considering them because of that reason, or you follow up with them and say, okay, we're looking to double check and make sure that, you understood that, this is the number that you're looking to submit.
So do you do that ahead of time before the committee would see it?
Ideally, yes.
Yeah, you would
Yeah.
put all that.
Yeah, we do
together.
that vetting and review of that before, that would be sure, yes.
Okay, how much time do you typically need to do that?
Usually a couple days.
So if we get it the 10th, that means we're looking at it the 16th, maybe 17th, we get a special meeting. Right?
Yeah, Tenth is what day of the week is the tenth?
10th is a
It's a
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
There was a meeting scheduled for the 9th. The building committee meeting is scheduled on the 9th.
I think that was anticipating the third as being the date.
Third is the due date,
As the
correct.
due date.
But that, I mean, that can move. Or probably should move, because if the bids are going to be extended a week, then meeting on the 9th probably is not as advantageous as after the fact, obviously. You know, with the numbers coming in.
So the meeting presumably then would move out a week also. So you'd go from the 9th to the 16th?
Well, we have a meeting on the 17th already.
There is a meeting, yes, there is a
Yes.
meeting scheduled on the 17th.
I'm not sure we need one on the 16th then.
We have one on the 9th and the 17th.
Well, we might, I don't know how much debate we need about our recommendations to the board of selectmen.
Yeah, the 9th might not, the 9th probably wouldn't work because we wouldn't have
No.
The price.
We wouldn't have the bids wouldn't even be are due till the next.
I have a thought, rather than giving them the week, why don't we give them 6 days? And have them come in on the 9th?
Well, that was actually my leading question, because I don't think a day is enough time for him.
Ah, okay.
I'm not gonna be able to.
So I was trying to parse it out to say, if we could get him or if we did it Friday, would that couple days be enough time? But it doesn't sound like, it sounds like we kind of need 3 or 4
Couple
days.
days.
Yeah, the third was always problematic because with the Thanksgiving, essentially the last Thursday of the month, now you're Saturday, Sunday into December and you're
Yeah, we were
You're
up
real
against
close,
that
yeah.
holiday, and the 3rd is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving,
Right.
so.
4 days,
Yeah.
4 or 5 days after Thanksgiving. On which is a 4-day weekend, basically. I don't know, maybe these guys are used to working over the long weekends, but,
John, what's the date that we're supposed to give recommendations to the Board of Selectmen?
yeah, that would be a firm date.
Submit referendum package to town,
We had is
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
All right, so that's out of the wood, then we really can't do that then, right? If we give a week to that
Right.
pushes that off, I would assume, correct?
I have Tuesday, December 3rd, the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Yeah.
On this
Keep going down.
Yeah, but yeah.
Item
yeah, you have to go
22.
down.
item 22, submit referendum package to town on Friday, the 13th.
So they would get it.
Board
Referendum
of Selectmen,
package.
but the Board of Selectmen meeting is then Monday, the 16th.
Well, so the referendum package is basically our recommendation back to the board of selectmen with this
Correct, that was-
selected,
That was being referred to as.
Base
Okay.
bid with all the alternates and,
had the word referendum in it, so I thought maybe there was extra work we had to do.
No.
but what was their plan if they gave it to them on the 13th? When was like their next meeting, like that next week?
Board of
Board of
Selectmen, Monday
Selectmen
the
meeting
16th.
is the 16th.
Guess I should have brought my calendar here, looking at this calendar.
Is there any reason why you couldn't move the bid to the Friday, not the 3rd, but the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever?
Yeah, it's the 6th.
Well, 6 would be Friday, yeah.
Six.
Give them the extra 3 days. Give them the full week after Thanksgiving.
Or even Monday.
Well, they're not
And
gonna work.
give them the weekend.
Yeah, but they're not gonna work over the weekend.
Mhm.
They might work Saturday though.
I think it'd be better off on the Friday, but.
That's what I think. I mean, their subs are gonna give them the numbers by that Friday anyway.
Okay,
Well, if we said the Friday though, that means when, John, can you get them turned around to us?
He'll work over the weekend. And then we'll get them by Monday.
John works for us, we can just schedule.
Then the
it.
9th works absolutely perfectly.
Right. So if you got them in the 6th, what?
Well, then we
would a
can get them to the
reasonable
town by
date
the
be?
13th like we're supposed to. We're on schedule.
How many contractors asked for an extra week?
2 at the walkthrough and 1 via, email. So three,
And
sub-
out of three out of how many?
22.
23.
How many GCs though? How many?
Yeah, you took out the vendors
Take
and
out
the
the
subs out of
vendors.
that.
No, I did, yeah, I did. There's 23 general contractors that
Minus one.
arrived, minus one, so we're down to 22. So 3 out of the 22 have requested or requested a extension of that bid
Right,
date.
so why don't
Are
we-
they contractors who are known to you, who you feel would be a good fit?
The 2 that asked, I am not sure, to be honest, who they were affiliated with at the walkthrough. I didn't recognize the guys that were there. The one on the email, I am not familiar with them directly. Let's see, who that was, if I remember correctly.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that was part of the RFP that went out, was when this thing was, before they even did the walkthrough, they knew that this was part of the criteria, correct?
Yes, that is spelled out
So-
in the instructions to
But we
bid.
did have concerns, remember?
Oh, yes, we
Said
were
that number
questioning
would be
the
over.
window, the time frame as well.
I think the 6th is a great idea. Just give them 3 extra days and look at the numbers by Monday evening in our meeting. Be all set. What time?
If we extend it to the 6th, are we gonna have true numbers then on the 9th? I need
Yeah.
to know that, John.
As long as my wife doesn't know I'm working all that weekend, yes.
We'll send AJ over.
Um,
Well, you have,
I love the night shift to work out of.
I mean, putting together everything on the spreadsheet, yes, can be done by the 9th. The question is, if there's discrepancies or, clarifications that are needed, I don't know if that can all be done on that 9th, on that Monday prior to the,
I think it's too
the
tight.
meeting.
Yeah, but it's gonna take time anyway, though, John, if you have to go through some questions and they have to go back and research and get back to you, then that could take a couple days on its own,
Right, typically,
you
you
know?
allocate 3 to 4 days for the vetting of the bids and compiling all that information. Excuse me, and then, presenting that, to the building committee in this case.
Is the 13th a hard date? Referendum.
Well,
No.
but the
well.
selectmen meeting's the next Monday, so
they-
they, I think they were gonna discuss it, I think.
It kicks it back to January.
Yeah, and they wanted it in, right, by mid-December. I mean, can we move our meeting from Monday to Thursday? Make a special meeting on Thursday instead of meeting on Monday, and it gives you the 4 days you want. And then we recommend whatever the outcome
We
is
have to make
for
a
that
decision at
Friday.
that meeting.
Yeah,
I will not be available at that meeting.
how about Wednesday?
Wednesday would work.
Wednesday would work for me. I'm not, that's actually literally the only time I'm available that week,
Wednesday, what's the date?
the 11th. John, do you think you've got enough time then?
If
But
there's 10 bids submitted, possibly. If there's 22, I'd have to say no, because that's a lot of work to go through 22 bids.
so maybe the question's for Al, what happens if we miss the 16th date for the Board of Selectmen? When's the next meeting?
Okay, so let me, before you answer that question, Al. If we don't change the date and keep it at the 3rd, are you prepared to give us information on the 9th? With 22 bids coming in?
I can probably make that work.
Recording in progress.
So you can, so my feeling is that there's only 3 out of the 22 who have asked for the extension.
Well,
Everyone else knows the 3rd is the 3rd.
I'm sensing that request is going to be coming from a number of them, not just those 3. I may be
I would-
wrong. I'm thinking they're gonna be looking, I'm sorry, Brian?
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah, I bet if they're all, if there's two other bids due that day, there's more than three of them that are probably bidding that same project.
Right.
It's a large project for the timeline that was given. It was already ambitious, so.
Okay. So you're saying that if we push it out to the 6th, you're not going to be able to get us by the 11th.
Depending how many bidders there are.
Depends on the number of bidders. I was saying, I don't know about the 9th, but if
The 11th.
the 11th, it's possible, Joan. I just don't know how many bids are gonna be coming in and how much
Right. It's only one business day difference, John. If we kid it, if originally we had it on the 3rd and we were going to get numbers by the 9th. So that's 3 business days, and then the 9th is the 4th business day. If we go to the 6th and you deliver on the 11th, that's now down to 3 business days.
Okay.
Maybe a little clarity, because the item 20, GC bid and scope reviews and interviews. That was scheduled for a week. What is that, and why is it a week? What was that?
That's to account for the potential variations between the bids, between their information that's submitted.
Well, we were discussing maybe interviews too, remember?
Yeah, I think that's what I
Right,
remember.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, that would not be an option if we're looking at the 6th to the 11th.
But you're saying what if we,
But I think the most important thing is we need to get the bids in and be able to evaluate them and see what the numbers are to give a recommendation to. Right, to the board of selectmen. Then we can decide if we're gonna do these interviews or we're not, because it's gonna depend on status and all these other things and what actually is being constructed, right?
Yeah, I want to get this part right.
No, but you're not making any.
I don't
you're
want
not
to rush
making-
it. That's what I'm worried about.
But you're not making any decisions. Right?
We're not. We have to make
Well,
a
what
decision
is-
that week to
so-
recommend to the board of selectmen.
What is the,
So we're gonna say
so
we're
what
gonna
is
recommend Wednesday.
the plan we're gonna give a recommendation to the board of selectmen, including all the alternates that we're doing for the bidder that we're selecting. And then
That is
they're
my
gonna use
understanding.
that,
That is what.
they're gonna use that number to go to referendum.
Right.
What
Joe,
happens
let me
if-
jump in here. Joe, I think
Okay.
I can help this committee make some progress here tonight. I think what's important to get to the selectmen that week, that is the week of the, is it the 16th, which is the Monday?
Yeah.
I think what the selectmen need that week is not necessarily the final recommendation, but a very good report on what the numbers are. While you may not have selected the final candidate, I think what the selectmen need is to know where the numbers are. And that way the selectmen can start their discussion about whether or not to call for a referendum. So my suggestion to the committee right now is it still possible to get the numbers to the selectmen that week, even if it's not the 16th?
Yes.
And
and by the numbers, Al, you mean, a narrow range of
yes,
bidders that we're looking at.
Well, we have a
exactly,
meeting-
Joe. Yeah, exactly.
We have a meeting on the 17th, Al, so if we could go through and give a recommendation after that date, that makes it easier on everybody.
Yeah, but
Again, if we're just giving an assessment,
Right, if
To
we're
the
given
board of
that
selectmen.
range, that's.
not a hard number.
yeah, because what the Board of Selectmen have to decide is to go to referendum or not to referendum, and what that might be. It really doesn't matter if you're picking the GC, A, B, or C, if they're both within a very narrow range of dollars.
Well, again, if we don't have to get it to them to after the 17th, we just keep our meetings the same way, right? We keep the 9th, keep the 17th.
And extend the bid date by a week.
Right.
Then he gets till they get to the 10th to return them, and
And
then
then,
you have till
he
the
gets a whole
17th
week to
to
get them to us on the
Then I have-
17th.
do all your vetting.
Does that make
work,
sense?
Reconciliation.
I mean, another option, not to throw more scenarios in here, is if the bids are due on the 10th, still have the special meeting on the 11th. Wait a minute.
Well, that would require you to at least have a spreadsheet put together with the raw
Right.
numbers.
But the other issue there is then that's a public meeting.
Well, let me ask you a question. Once
You
your
don't wanna do
spreadsheet's
that.
together, can you share that with the committee ahead of the 17th meeting?
I can, but is that
But we
something
couldn't,
that
we couldn't vote
I
on
don't know,
it.
I'm just asking. I
We,
don't
we
know.
couldn't, you could, we have agenda meetings, the agenda meetings occasionally have information on them, but we would not be able to have a vote on that. We can't send it out and say, we're gonna vote, give us a vote. Here's information for the meeting that's coming up. Am I on good ground here, solid ground, Joe?
Yeah, I think my thought process, is if you extend this out a week, you're gonna probably have some questions. I think we go and do the 17th meeting. Board of Selectmen has a meeting on the 16th. On the 17th, we meet, and then the Board of Selectmen can hold a special meeting. We can still report back to the Board of Selectmen and say, here's what we've done, rather than try to fit it into their twice a month schedule. There's no reason not to have a special meeting just to focus on this topic, quite frankly.
I agree with what Joan's saying. I think this topic is sufficiently important that the selectmen might want to have a special meeting anyway because of the length of the discussion. So it's a little awkward for me to try to speak for my four colleagues, but Joe, I think if the information within a range gets to the selectmen by that Wednesday or Thursday, I think that would be satisfactory.
And we're talking the 17th or 18th,
Yes,
which would be after your Board of Selectmen meeting, but at least would give information. And then you guys can hold a special meeting if you want to have a discussion.
exactly, Joan. Yes.
I think we would meet on the 17th,
Correct.
so it actually would be the 18th,
Correct.
unless they want to come here at 9 o'clock at night
No, so
and meet with us.
that makes sense. We meet on the 9th, the bids will be due on, if we extend it by a week, on the 10th.
Yep.
then
And that
we-
gives Colliers a week to get everything together so that we have a true focused discussion on the 17th. And
Correct, and we can give
And,
our
and,
assessment or whatever you want to call it to the Board of Selectmen.
correct.
and,
And here's our range, and we're going to interview these 3 or 4.
and we can get that information, we can get that spreadsheet prior to the 17th as information for decision or discussion at the meeting. Is that okay with everybody? Joan, I'm looking for you to shake your head, yes.
No matter what, if we get it in an email or whatever, everything is under FOIA, so that's fine. What we'd want to do is make sure that Colliers has enough time to create a document that's going to
Right.
help us focus in on the decision.
Right.
Yep.
One question, just a follow-up on your line item 20 is the interview process, because it shows up after the bid and between in terms of its order there. So how does it fit into this scenario? Is it just the interview?
We had talked about,
Or
we had talked about the possibility of interviewing one or more of the bidders and making the value decision, not the intangibles from what we see in a meeting or a presentation or whatever format we wanted to use. I don't know if we're still gonna have time for that if we extend the bid deadline by a week or not. I guess we'll have to maybe rely on Joan and or John and Brian to let us know that if we will have time to do that. And if that is a necessary part of the process, then we'll have to make the time. If that's your recommendation, Brian and John.
Also sounds like if the range is sufficient for the Board of Selectmen, then that takes some pressure off us to have a final selection
Right,
done in
exactly.
December.
Yeah, we do it after the holidays.
So if there was a narrow range and we had to choose among, I don't know, 3 or 4, then we could give that narrow range to the selectmen. They can make their tentative decisions on what they have to do, and then we can winnow down or select from those 4.
That work in early January.
It's with some way of some sort of interview or selection, some selection process.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as there's not a lot of outliers all over the place and everyone's fairly within a good range, it should be okay. So I think once we see the bids, we'll know.
And we did actually also note within the instructions to bidders that they are to hold prices for 100 days. So that, which is about a month longer than normal, so that, that decision, would be made, I think March 13th is that date. So, and if we extend it a week, then it becomes March 20th. So it's 100 days after the bids are received. So, but that would also give us, some leeway there to work with as far as, making that selection, that ultimate selection as to which contractor, their bids are to be done for that time frame.
Well,
Okay.
it's gonna be based on when the referendum is held and voted on.
Well, that was part of the reasoning too behind the 100 days, assuming that the referendum would be in February, so that gives ample time to make that decision by the middle of March.
All right, it's tight.
I want to go back to something AJ said. And I think this is the path that gets us there. He said we need to get this right. And I think the path we're on now is one that we could be more assured of getting it right than the original one that we talked about.
All right, so we're gonna agree to extend the bid for 1 week.
So I have a quick question then. Do we need to have a meeting on the 9th?
Well, I guess we can get an update, Joan, on how,
Just because they're
John
due
can give us
back
an
on the
update on
10th
how
doesn't
the
mean-
bidding is going, right? I mean,
They can submit before the 10th, right? It's whenever they don't.
They can, they probably won't, but I mean, you may find 1 or 2
we can open
that
one.
would submit it.
But we wouldn't open them though.
Oh,
You can't open it, right?
got it.
Electronic opening.
X-ray.
I think for now, we could leave the meeting on the 9th.
Okay, just double
We can
checking.
always change it later. But
Change
some-
it, just cancel it, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something to, an update if we need to. We have a lot of outlets, we think we're gonna have outliers, or there's a lot of questions, or whatever.
And then I might as well, while I'm at it, the 26th is our next meeting. November 26th.
Yeah.
And will we have focus on what we should be discussing, or will we be just kind of regaling again?
Well, all the bidder questions will be due and answered by then, so I guess. we
Oh,
don't wanna-
cool. All right. That'll be good. We can review those. Okay.
Yeah, and again, if we're extending the bid date, I will probably extend the response due date a couple days. And then the final addendum date would be extended, probably a couple days as well to react to any of those last questions coming in.
So you should be able to get this updated fairly quickly. And we should be able to look at it and see if it all fits together the way we want.
Hopefully, yes, tomorrow afternoon, I'll have the revised dates in here and send that out.
Okay, sound good, everyone?
Sounds good.
Okay.
And we usually do not vote on date changes, so I don't believe we need a committee vote here.
No.
But we don't.
Okay, and back to my report. The only other thing to add is we did have a meeting last Wednesday with the federal government representatives regarding the federal grant. And They did send a follow-up email on Friday. Unfortunately, the person who sent it was out Monday and yesterday, or excuse me, Monday and today. They are due back tomorrow, so I wanted to follow up with her on a couple things, but they were implying that the hope and the intent is to try to have the federal grant address as much of the soft costs as possible. So that was a comment that we were not anticipating to hear, but they were considering, the review of the project, the grant itself, and determining, how many or how much of the soft costs could be addressed through the federal grant. So that would be, professional fees, the consultants, the FF&E, those soft cost items, trying to assess as much as possible what they can pay for through that federal grant in the soft costs, as opposed to having to do it through the hard costs or the construction.
Mhm.
Because
that makes much more sense.
it makes more sense, and hopefully, that it's something that can be addressed that way. But I am looking to follow up with the lady who sort of ran that discussion last week. She's due back tomorrow, so hopefully I'll start.
That could factor into our alternates as well, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if we, like some of the kitchen stuff, right, would that be?
Well,
That's FFP.
Well,
so
that's-
Well, kitchen equipment, yes,
Yeah.
that would be considered FF&E, yes.
yeah.
Okay.
But that federal grant is the one that's tied to the Buy America.
Yes, that's the.
That's why we
Buy
want to use it
America.
for soft costs and whatever else that we can do. Your septic system may be a good choice.
I'm sorry?
Your septic system may be a good choice for the federal grant.
That may be considered construction, though.
Well, I'm just saying things that we know that we can certify that are America or Buy America compliant.
Oh, I see what you're saying, as far
I'm
as.
just saying, if we end up.
If it overlaps.
We have to make sure that it's Buy America compliant. We want to target those items.
Okay.
It gives more flexibility.
It does.
Mhm.
It's a lot, it's much better.
Anything more,
So
John?
that's all I have. No.
Thank you,
There was,
John.
there were two other meetings, the land use meeting on the 4th and the P and Z commission meeting on the 7th. Did you attend those, John? Or was that QA&M? Or was anybody there?
I don't think we had anything presenting at
Yeah.
that. Brian can speak to that in his update, I guess, but I don't think that, those are in there just to have those tracked, but I don't think QAM had any presentation, but Brian can speak to that.
Okay, Brian, the ball's passed to you.
Okay, so my civil guys were finalizing some last minute comments from the health department, which are being incorporated into this addendum that will be issuing tomorrow. And that should satisfy all health department issues. We've already got approval from the local officials, Trent. And Tom is presenting at the ACA meeting, should be over by now, but he'll have a report on how that went. We did, the Historic District Commission wanted hard copies for their submission, so he dropped those off today while he was in the office. So we should be all set for that. We had informal meetings with them previously, and comments were very mild, and we addressed all their issues. So I'm not expecting any changes or any hiccups along the way for the final submission or the final review. We are in the addendum tomorrow where it's a lot of tying up some loose ends, last minute coordination items, some stuff that we knew was common, like the health department comments and stuff of that nature, but not too much in the way of RFIs. But it is important for us to get the information to the bidders as soon as possible, just so they have as much time to respond to it.
Brian, the Historic District Commission meeting, I just want to confirm that is November 25th, that you'll be presenting that,
Yes.
right? Okay.
So if we didn't do the 7th P and Z, when do we do a P and Z meeting?
I believe that's the 21st. You know, Brian, if that is the 21st for the P and Z meeting?
Does it need to be after the HCC meeting?
I'm not sure the sequencing, to be honest, as to what the requirement is on that. I think
You have to do
Aaron's
No
checking that.
approval date off of, the review from the HCC, but
We'll check that.
Well,
Okay, Jane.
You have a P and Z meeting listed here for the 21st. Is that?
Right.
This is tracking when they are.
Yeah, I'm just tracking those essentially, but the intent or the hope was that would be when QAM, has their hearing. But if Brian is correct in that the HDC needs to go first, then it would be the subsequent P and Z meeting, which I did not, I didn't list all the other ones coming afterwards, so I'll have to confirm what that is.
I don't know if Aaron said they have to go in a certain order, so yeah, definitely worth checking.
Yeah.
Because they may just do a preliminary and then say, as long as nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
Anything further, Brian?
no,
Any questions for Brian before we move on? No, okay. Peter, you've been supportive and very patient. Do you have anything to add to either QAM or Colliers or anything from the town that might be we can put under public comment?
Oh, I think we're all set.
Okay.
And then the attendees want to raise their hand?
Anybody from the public who would like to raise their hand on your computer? You raise your hand at home, we don't see it.
No,
You get anything, Jean?
No.
Pardon?
no one's raised their hand.
Okay. With that, we can move to adjournment unless there are any other comments or any other issues. Hearing none, motion to adjourn. I don't need a second, I don't think, because I'm the chair.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Hi.
Any objections? No objections, all in favor, meeting's adjourned.